Hello, everybody. This is Scott Woods, Transportation Training Group. I'm going to upload a video here today, and I'm actually preparing it right now, as you can hear me, on freight lanes. Now, for a lot of you new agents, new brokers, drivers, dispatchers, this is going to be a handy little item so you could get some better rates or you could start to understand why there are higher rates for some places throughout the country and lower rates for some places throughout the country. Now, as you will notice here, I have a map of the United States. I have it sectioned off from the Northeast to the South to the Midwest to the frontier and the Pacific regions. And on this map, I also have a number of different targets. So what I'm going to do is identify a couple of different freight lanes. Now, it would be impossible, even through my training program, to identify every freight lane in America. There are 1.8 billion. That's right, people, billion. 1.8 billion freight lanes in the U.S. because they work on different lane switches, lane combinations, etc. Well, what I do when I'm teaching, my new agents to move freight is I section off the country. That's one start. Then I even drill down a little bit further. I'll section it off by equipment type. Because as you see, with the different lanes that are out there throughout the US, it's always by equipment type. And it can even drill down further by season if you're moving produce. All right, because if I'm in one part of the country with a step deck, I'm going to get a higher rate than a drive-in or a reefer because I might be in a location where, and I'll just use Montana up in the frontier section. You go up in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, you're going to get a higher rate for a flatbed or a step deck than you are going to get for a dry box or a reefer because there's just simply more freight available for that open top equipment, such as that step deck or that flatbed or that double drop, than there is for that reefer dry box. Consequently, if the freight isn't available, that means they're going to have tons of equipment, no freight. That freight's going to go off at a cheaper price. All right. Now, I want you to focus over in the Pacific region. You'll see a target. Now, that target is placed right over the San Francisco area. All right. More importantly, a little bit south of San Francisco, Salinas. Salinas, California is America's salad bowl. All right. Now, I'm making this video today. It's May the 7th. And I'm keeping a promise to all my subscribers. I did not upload a video for about 18 months. I don't want to be a YouTube superstar. I know and I recognize we've got the biggest channel for moving freight because honestly, we're the only ones on YouTube that have ever moved freight. The rest of these charlatans are out here blowing smoke up your ass. But we're trying to teach you something. Now, look, I've got that target over Salinas, California. That's America's salad bowl. All right. Now, it's coming up on Mother's Day weekend this weekend. All right. Traditionally, the coolers, and when I say the coolers, I'm referring to the produce coolers. The produce coolers are starting what's called the northern transition. California has 2 times of year which produce is hot, and consequently one is in the north where Salinas is at, the other is in the south in the El Centro area around Yuma, Arizona, with all that produce coming across from Mexico. Well, the produce coolers have shut down in the south, all right, because during the northern transition, that's when they go back up north, those same produce coolers that are in the south, whether they're Dole or River Ranch or Metz, some of these big produce distributors have coolers in the south. They also have coolers in the north. So they move up north where the growing season is coming into season around Memorial Day weekend. And that's when all the trucks come back. See, what happens is these reefers are like, as the best way I can describe them is, if you have ever been to a small town on the 4th of July or on Labor Day weekend, and you'll see some carnival that comes into town with, the rides you really don't want to put your kid on because, quite frankly, the guys that are running the rides, they look like they just got out of the penitentiary or something, but basically they're carnies. Well, these reefers are like carnies. They follow the produce seasons. So right now we're going to focus on one particular lane. We're going to look at the Pacific region here out of the Salinas area going to the northeast. You'll see another bullseye over here by the northeast. All right, now up in the northeast, there are 3 markets, okay? And when I'm saying markets, big produce markets. Of course, we've got one in New York. That's Hunts Point. That's the Bronx. We have one in Boston. That's the Chelsea market. We have also Jessup, Maryland, and a huge one in Philly. So there are actually 4 markets. So I put that bullseye kind of in the northeast. This is going to be a freight lane, all right? Now, these reefers that are going out there, because it's the hot time of the year, on any given day, there are 1,000 loads from these produce distributors. Some of this is dedicated freight that's going to be customer routed, and the customers are going to arrange through their produce broker to get a truck and send him into the locations. That's one way of getting the freight. Others, they're going to be direct growers and shippers who are hiring trucks to transport it to wholesalers in that northeast region. So this freight lane is going to go from the west coast to the east coast. A lot of drivers want this. It's high dollar loads, This time of year they'll get $8,000 for a load, and a team will get $9,500, and especially if you're moving mixers. And what a mixer is, for those of you who do not know, is when you're going to have multiple stops, multiple pickups. You might load at 5 different produce coolers, and for your produce wholesaler, he might get broccoli at one, red leaf lettuce at another, green leaf lettuce at another. He'll get, mangoes, what have you, whatever in his order is that he places with his produce broker. Now, when these reefers are coming out of the Pacific region, they're going up to these markets in Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Jessup. They'll deliver their freight. These guys are going to get high dollar loads because there's so many loads versus so few trucks. Now, when they get to the northeast, well, the tables turn a little bit, because now you're going to have, any given day, you'll have 1,500 reefers available and 150 loads. Now, that means if those 150 loads are available, what's going to happen? Now, think about it, people. That means these reefers are going to pull out cheap. I'll give you a shipper. All right, and a lot of people know this guy, and I don't move refrigerated freight anymore, but he's up in Boston. It's called Channel Fish. This guy still, to this day, gets trucks for about $1.25 a mile, and that's a reefer, okay? Basically, he has loads going back into the Midwest, into Indianapolis, into Chicago, into St. Louis. These are where these reefers can reload for a decent rate going to get back out to California, okay? So he can get his freight moved extremely, extremely cheap, and he knows this. Anytime you have a market that is saturated with either trucks or either freight, something's going to go off cheap. It's got to move, all right? It's got to move, or they've got to move, okay? Now, I want to show you a different freight lane. This is actually a freight lane that I run my step decks with, okay? I run only oversized, and I keep my trucks where I know I could reload for good money all the time. And this is called developing a freight lane. This is what reefers should do, and a lot of these refrigerated truck companies should do, and some of them do it. Most do not. They kind of just wait till they get to the other end and hope for the best. But you'll see one bullseye up here in northern Illinois, in the Midwest, and another bullseye down by around Houston, Texas. This is a lane that I've been running for 20 years with the trucks. Very profitable lane. Up in northern Illinois, okay, and I'll just tell you some of People we deal with, you got East Moline, that's in the Quad Cities. All right, that's where John Deere is. Over in Burlington, Iowa, you got Case Manufacturing. Up in Aurora, you have Caterpillar. Over in Peoria, you have Caterpillar. Over in Decatur, you have Caterpillar. Now, all of that in that circle of that bullseye, those are just some of the shippers that are up here. Now, this is farm equipment and heavy equipment that is loaded on a step deck, and a lot of it goes to the ports in Houston. So I will get this freight and take it to the port in Houston. Now, once I get to the port, I deliver that load. What do you think is going to happen? They have all types of ancillary freight down there that I could load on this step deck coming right back up to the Midwest. It's a hot freight lane. This is a piece of equipment they're looking for all the time. Now, if you're down there as a dry van, you're going to just die on the vine because there's always 10,000 dry vans available and about 200 loads. Now, with those 200 loads, they're going to go off cheap. But if you have the right type of equipment in the right freight lane, you're going to get good money every time as a broker, as a dispatcher, or as a trucking company owner. Look, we teach you about the freight lanes and how to identify them and how to maximize your revenue. Whether it's being a broker, a trucking company, or a dispatcher. If you don't learn these simple, basic tools and formulas on how to notice where there's good freight available, you're just missing the money. You're going to miss a lot of money in your job. Look, visit my website, www.freightbrokertraining.com. That's www.freightbrokertraining.com. We have the top freight broker training program in America. I've been training people for 20 years. If you actually want to make money in this business, I will show you how. Quit donating your money to these charlatans that aren't going to help you. We've helped over 20